Thank you for staying with us. Many thanks for joining us on the program. Now, we are still waiting for um, Desmond, even though we have little time to continue the program. So, Olumide, we could see that it takes a lot, at least. That's why we start to speak from the place of research. You refer to research and development organizations.
Yes.
We also refer to institutions of government, the input they need to make into conservation of wildlife, and not only that, the education, the awareness that needs to be created at the ebb of society to the people, to restrain the people from poaching, and how their actions can be incentivized for preventing poaching or reporting poaching activities to the governing authorities is something that the government should put into consideration.
Yes.
Because if the people at the ebb of society can be brought on board and be educated and be informed on the reason why wildlife needs to be protected, and for them to know that it's for their own good, and apart from doing that, incentivize them.
Southwest, anywhere. Let's start with something.
Yes.
Create a space. Make a space available. I mean, we've been talking about ranching and the rest of them. Make a space available. Allocate that particular. There's a particular institute of research. I don't want to even mention their name. It's not even operated in Nigeria. It's in Ibadan. It's operated by foreign countries, and they are doing so well. If you go into that community, you would not believe you're in Nigeria. And it's in Nigeria here. So we can do something even better than that. All we need to do is partner first. And the easiest way is research institutes.
Yes.
Approach these institutions, these educational learning institutions. Approach a faculty, zoology, or you would actually get the best from there. Then you start from there.
Right.
Also, it would also serve as another place of, a training for these students to go and work, do some research. When there is a particular place available, you're studying about animals, you're studying about preservation, and you cannot really access it in real form, real life. It defeats the purpose. So we can partner with certain or create research institute. It's
Great.
better.
If we can create research institutes. Now we have Desmond Majekodunmi. He joins us back. Welcome to the program, Mr. Desmond. Many thanks for joining us again.
My pleasure.
Yes, so as we move towards the conclusion of the program, I would like to ask, what role would you give as an advice for the government, community leaders, monarchs, or people at the ebb of society who live close to areas where we have this biodiversity, habitat, environment, and also where some of this wildlife exists, so that they will not go into or dabble into poaching activities? What role can the government play? Philanthropists, what can they do to sustain it?
Yes, well, we just have to maintain our forest reserves. Well, way back, we developed several forest reserves in different parts of the country, the north, east, west, and south. And we need to really, really protect those reserves. But at the same time, we need to enlighten the local communities and try to incorporate them into the whole protection process. And enlighten them by telling them that, their forefathers, they were quite wise when it came to hunting for the various foodstuffs out of the wildlife. They timed it well. They didn't hunt during the gestation period, because certain of these animals, they have a certain period where they will now, bring forth their young, and they go through gestation and so on. And also the hunters would generally try to avoid killing the female, particularly a pregnant female, because they know the implication of that. So we could learn from them. They were living far more sustainably than we are. But also we need to emphasize into the hearts and minds of ourselves and the communities about the importance. We call it environments. We call it, our wildlife. These are part of our life support system. And the scientists of this world and people who have experienced the decline are panicking because we're actually causing far too much destruction. And the opposite of that is that it will bring good funds for us. And there are other ways now, of of getting the bushmeat and so on. You can have specific farms if you know that you have to supply the bushmeat and some of the other animals that people are using for food. You have farms. You have ways of producing these on a far larger scale and in a far safer way to the environment. But the key is the environment must be protected, and protecting the wildlife is one of the ways of ensuring that their habitat, which is the environment, is protected. Again and again and again, we need to emphasize our life support system. It is under threat. And it's not just our life support system, it's our children's. And I don't think that anybody in their normal mind would want to compromise that which would support their children and their grandchildren's lives. And that's how we need to appeal to people. Don't wreck a system that has been put in place that you inherited from your father and your father inherited from his father and so on back in a good condition. And now, because of irresponsible use of technology, which allows you to kill many of these creatures very, very quickly, destroying it? No, 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 no. I don't think we would want to do that. I mean, the question I would want to put to you guys in the studio, do you love your children?
Of course.
Of course we do.
Of course. Of course. And that's one of the reasons why you're using your very valuable airtime to express this knowledge. Also, again, it's financially viable for us to do that on a very, very large scale. The amount of money that comes into South Africa and Kenya, and I hear Botswana's into it, and some other countries in Africa and other countries in the world, they're making fantastic money. And the beauty of this as well is it brings people together. It brings us together as brothers and sisters on this tiny, tiny little speck of a planet. So this is what we need to really, really promote. And I commend you for actually running this particular program today to discuss this very, very crucial and important issue, because we all love our children and each other's children. I love your children too.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Majekodunmi. So earlier on, I was muting the idea of whether legislations could help in curbing some of these animals that are being hunted down. What's your thought on this?
Absolutely. The legislation could help. We actually do have some legislation, but the penalties are a little bit, in fact, they're far too weak. The penalties for killing endangered species are far too low. Again, we have to reiterate the importance of this species. It's endangered. It's part of the web of life. And if you collapse that web, you're going to be in big trouble. So we need to revisit those particular legislations and ensure that the penalties are increased far more. We're seeing some encouraging signs from the Nigerian Customs Agency, actually, because Nigeria had become a hub for the transportation of various things that came from the wildlife, like the pangolin scales. Again, another very, very important creature, the pangolin. It's one of the few creatures that can control the population of termites and ants. Termites and ants are important because they break down biodiversity. But if you have too many of them, then you will have too much of a breakdown. So the pangolin is there to do a good job. But the scales of the pangolin are very popular for some reason. And a lot of them were being exported, but our customs are actually doing very well with that. So yes, more penalties. Make far, far more severe penalties, because what you're doing is impacting far too seriously in a very, very dangerous area. Don't wreck your children's life support system. This is inexcusable. There's no way that you can justify that, no matter the amount of money that you're going to justify wrecking your children's life support system by bringing out important species from the web of life. So yes, legislation, and enforcement of this legislation is very, very, very crucial.
Mr. Desmond, this is my last question coming from me to you. Now, it's about the Lekki Conservation Center and when I looked very well, some other centers that you have referenced across Nigeria and probably across the centers of Africa. It has to do with climate change. Do you think we have some of this habitat or habitation around African continent that can be used as deployed as an instrument to aid the climate sustainability program that the United Nations is putting out there, more so that we can have places that will absorb carbon emissions? Do you think we have enough of that across Nigeria or in the continent of Africa?
We certainly don't have enough, but the few that we have need to be preserved. And we were so excited to hear the Vice President, I think about 2 weeks ago, declaring a 2 billion tree planting campaign. They said, no, 20 billion, yeah, tree planting campaign. This is fantastic. It's not as much as China or India or even Ethiopia have done, but we can do it. We must do it because the trees are the natural sequester. From what we're talking about now is the biggest issue, the biggest problem humanity has ever faced, as if we haven't faced problems before. And that's the global warming that's causing the climate change that is upsetting the very ability of this incredible, miraculous planet to actually support life. And of course, the forest and all the greenery are very key to this, because not only are they absorbing the CO2, but they're giving us our oxygen, which is obviously the most important is the most important element that we have. No matter amount of money that you have, if you don't have oxygen, you're gone and you'll leave the money behind. And that's what the trees, every green leaf gives you that. And the trees do far more than just producing oxygen. They produce food, they produce medicine, they are transmitters of water vapor, they stabilize the soil. Very important. But unfortunately, Nigeria has one of the highest rates of deforestation in the world. And this is so sad because our forests are some of the richest forests. As rich as the Congo Basin. In fact, we joined those Cameroon and Congo forests, but they're being decimated again just for some good, quick money, which is unjustifiable because you're wrecking your life support system again. So we need to do far more. And again, I really just want to commend you and your management team for running this sort of program, because it does help to bring a little bit of awareness into the consciousness of people, and hopefully it'll also prick their conscience to do the right thing. And I hope you guys are going to plant at least a few small shrubs in your house or compound now.
Yes, thank you so much. Desmond Maje-Kodunmi is a renowned environmental activist, a multi-dimensional engineer who has received many awards in recognition of his laborious work on agriculture and the environment. He has won the Nigerian Silverbird TV Man of the Year Award and DW German TV Network Environment Hero. He's a certified experimental extension farmer for the International Institute of Tropical Agriculture in Ibadan. Mr. Desmond, thank you so much for your time with us. We really appreciate your presence, finding it time from your very tight schedule to join us on the program today. I want to say a very big thank you for spending your time with us. We've had a robust conversation, and I think and feel that our guests really appreciate hearing from an institution like you when we talk about environmental science and the protection of our environment. Thank you.
Pleasure.
Now, Olumide, that's a great place for us to draw the curtain.
Yes, it is. He ended, saying that Nigeria has the highest number of deforestation. So I think that's one of the things we need to work on. We need to try as much as possible. Yes, people are looking for places to build, do this, that. We're having industrialists come in, build this, that.
Cut down the trees for firewood, for furniture.
For furniture and all that. So we also need, to preserve nature, because nature would also take care of us, whether we like it or not.
Great. And I will not forget what Desmond Maje-Kodunmi said. He said, these are our life support system. If we think along that line, maybe we will have a rethink not to bring wildlife into extinction. From me, I said many thank you for staying with us throughout the program. Now do well to follow us on all our social media platforms at Souk News TV. I am Oyin Priye Krumale. Do have yourself a splendid day ahead.
Let's do this again tomorrow. I am Olumide Shukoya. Enjoy the rest of your day.